How's it going, gamers? Luis here from Gaming Vlog Network, back with my review of Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Many of you guys have heard of Mirror's Edge, this cult classic that was released back in 2008 for the Xbox 360, the PS3, and the PC. Mirror's Edge Catalyst, on the other hand, isn't a sequel or a prequel, but a reboot of the original for the current generation. Now, this isn't just a remake. EA has actually gone back and added in new features, changed how the game works, and it's a reimagining more than just a visual upgrade. But before we talk about specifics, let's talk about the story. Mirror's Edge Catalyst tells you the origin story of Faith Connors, a runner who got locked up in prison after a failed run. The game opens up with her being released and immediately going back to running. In this totalitarian world, runners are rebels that work off the grid, doing burglaries or jobs in return for pay. They live in empty factories and on the rooftops, avoiding the totalitarian security running Glass City. It's pretty much a similar story to that of the original, and that means that the story is really the real lacking part of the game. The characters lack depth, and you don't really connect with them, even with all the cutscenes that are made to evoke emotion between the cast. They feel like padding in between the fun parts of the missions. While I'm usually all about the story, in this case it feels like unnecessary padding to some otherwise enjoyable gameplay. So let's talk about those new gameplay mechanics. The original Mirror's Edge gave you all your abilities from the get-go, basically just giving you a world to travel through from mission to mission. Catalyst completely scraps that idea. This time around there's a skill tree and you'll have to progress through the game to unlock new abilities and gear, like the ability to quickly make a 180-degree turn, or a hook shot that'll help you scale a building or swing from platform to platform. You get the basics at the beginning of the game, but these extra abilities are introduced at a gradual pace as you play. Combat is also a much bigger part of the game. It's even upgradable through the skill tree. You can upgrade your combat to better take down enemies with different types of armor. Unlike the original game, Catalyst doesn't want you to just run or slide away from enemies. If you need to knock some heads or throw someone off a building, you can do it. The linear design of the game has been scrapped for a new open world system. Now technically the story missions are still linear, however you're not forced to play them back to back. There's side missions scattered throughout the open world that let you tackle on other objectives if you don't necessarily want to pursue the story back to back. Furthermore, because of how free the open world is, you can take on different routes to the same objective. Make your travels your own unique path. If you want to climb a building to get to a mission, you can do it. But if you'd rather take the lower path and zipline upward, then you can do that too. The open world is pretty large, and seeing as most of the game's color palette is white, it's pretty easy to get lost in it. Luckily there's a map where you can set waypoints, whether it's a random part of the city or a mission. When you set a waypoint, you can then turn on your runner's vision. These appear as red streaks throughout the open world that guide you to your objective. It's a great tool that can help you get through the city, but you can turn it off if you're a Mirror's Edge purist. Now this next thing seems to be a trend with a lot of modern single player games, and it happens with Mirror's Edge too. It actually has some sort of multiplayer mode. It's not multiplayer in the traditional sense of online or local co-op or a split screen competitive mode, but it's what EA is calling social play. In Catalyst you're able to create checkpoints that act as a custom racetrack within the open world. You can then upload these checkpoints and your best time and challenge other people online to beat your time. We've seen examples of this like in Just Cause 3 that have some sort of leaderboard system online even though it's technically just a single player game. Social play isn't necessarily too riveting and it's easily forgettable. I mean, it's a really cool addition, but it's something in this game that we really didn't need nor that anybody was asking for. Visually, the game runs at 900p on PS4 and 720p on the Xbox One. Both consoles target 60 frames per second, although both dip into the mid-50s, with the Xbox One being the worst of the two, sometimes dropping even lower than that. The draw distances on the Xbox One are also a little worse compared to the PS4. If you compare footage of the same sections of the two games, sometimes you'll notice that some of the buildings on the Xbox One version will be missing, and that's just because of the shorter draw distance. PC, on the other hand, as expected, is the best version, easily maintaining 1080p 60 frames per second on max settings on my PC rig, and that consists of a GTX 970 and an i7 4790K. If you saw my original first impressions of the closed beta for this game, you'll know that I found a lot of tech issues with all three versions of the game. On PC, those are pretty much gone with the exception of some low resolution textures here and there taking a while to load. On the console side, there are some clipping issues going on during certain game animations. The fun in Mirror's Edge Catalyst really comes from getting lost and navigating the city. The lack of UI elements while you're speeding through the rooftops, riding down from a zipline, or just leaping from building to building is so immersive. These elements take a hit when you have to run your way through the inside of a building, as it makes you pause and analyze the environment to learn how to navigate it. While you're outside though, you get lost in the thrill of constantly running, with really the only element on screen being the runner's vision guide, and that's really only if you have it on. The experience and the thrill is so immersive that when you misstep and you accidentally fall off a building to your death, you actually feel pretty shocked, you get lost in the adventure. Electronic Arts has gone and reconfigured a lot of the gameplay that the original Mirror's Edge had, and it's for the better. But it also lacks in some of the same places that the original lacked in, most specifically the weak storytelling. If you enjoy the gameplay of the original Mirror's Edge, I think you'll enjoy what EA has tweaked with it. However, if you're a newcomer and your interest in the game really runs only because of the trailer, or because of word of mouth of the original, then I'd recommend waiting for a price drop. The gameplay can be really fun and the new open world really pushes it forward, but there's still other lacking parts in Mirror's Edge that EA probably should have learned their lesson by now from the original game. Thank you very much for watching my review of Mirror's Edge Catalyst for the Xbox One, PS4, and the PC. If you have any questions about the game, let me know in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you enjoyed the review and found it useful, smack a like on it, subscribe for other reviews just like this one, and thank you all very much for watching once again. I'll see you all in the next one.